Yeah.
And it's made at a time when automobile was not only engineering, automobile building was art.
Hey, welcome to Tiafo Garage. Today we're going to go to Concorso Italiano. Like we did last year, we're going to drop off my Dino over at the spectator lot. Chris is again showing his Dino. You're going to drop me off. We're going to go off-roading to get out of the
We're
parking
going to go
lot.
off-roading to get out of that parking lot.
Tiafo Garage.
Drop off successful. Going off-roading again.
Oh, shit, that looks like it's going to be some off-roading.
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
This is like Movie's Garage now.
Yeah.
You'll have to spray it off and take it to the wizard.
Oh, man.
Man, your car is low.
My car is really low.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it shouldn't. Oh, God. It shouldn't scrape like that.
All right. So this year, Chris is next to the 308s instead of the Dinos.
All right.
Judging a 308 here.
Brakes.
We have here a 328 and 308 near each other, so Chris will kind of talk through some of the differences.
I am not an expert. I'm just an enthusiast. One thing you notice about 308 has black bumpers, front and rear, of course. They've flat out removed those bumpers.
Okay.
So this should have black bumper, like Stewart's car. That's the main exterior differences, along with this door handle being right here. So kind of a hidden handle type of a thing. And if you look, the interior for me is the biggest part. So this is very classic looking, very Dino looking actually, with its little knobs and levers. The difference with the 328 is, as you can see, we've got body colored bumpers now. So this is a later model because it's got the convex wheels. Like 86 and 87, like that one over there, have the concave wheels, whereas ABS brakes have convex wheels. When the convex wheels came around, they also put the Ferrari emblem on the mirror. You won't find it on that one over there. The door handles are not up here like they were in 308. They're here. Interior, totally different. The dashboard is more modern and stuff like that. It's still a similar layout, of course, but just a completely different look and feel. Being a person who has driven both a 308 QV and a 328, I personally like the 308 looks better. I just like that classic interior a lot more. But the 328 is a far superior driving car. While they may not look like it, the 328 is actually maybe an inch or two longer and wider. And that makes all the difference in the world.
This is a Ferrari SUV thing or something. It's creating a lot of heat. I can feel it keeping me warm.
Tim Brown here. This is my 1999 Ferrari 550 Maranello. Had it about a year or so. What I like about this car is it was the last front-engine V12 manual transmission Ferrari that was made only with a manual transmission. They rated roughly 3,000 of these, 480 horsepower V12. Open up the hood, you can come take a look.
Right on. So V12, 5.5 liter.
Around 480 horsepower.
Okay.
The 456, which is right next to us here, that one was built roughly same time, but it's a four-seater.
Okay.
Very, very similar car, and it's got pop-up headlights, but the engines are very, very close to each other.
So this was the first front-engine V12 after the Testarossa 512 experiment.
Yeah, it was. Ferrari wanted to go back to their true GT cars.
Yes.
So it's not as sporty or handled quite as well as the mid-engine cars.
But it's a Grand Touring car.
Grand Touring car, extremely comfortable, easy to drive.
Yeah.
So with no wings or anything, it's a 200-mile-an-hour car. There's another Maranello right here that has a Fiorino handling package. You can go take a look at that one. It has the special wheels on. It's basically got the modern creature comforts, but with the old school, front engine manual transmission.
Yeah. Terry.
Hello.
Well, maybe we'll start with how you ended up with the car.
I was a 29-year-old architect moving up to the Bay Area, and I just was looking for an unusual car, and this was it.
Do you know how many have been made roughly?
Total imported to the U.S. about 1,800. They were imported in 1976 and 1977.
Okay.
This is a 1977,
Okay.
and there were only 405 of the 1977s that were imported to the U.S.
Yeah.
Many of the California cars have left to go elsewhere
yes.
because of the smog reason.
Is this one registered in California?
It is registered in California.
Yeah.
I've owned it for 45 years.
45 years.
And so it has been smogged every 2 years. It's all pretty much stock and original. They're mid-engine,
Okay.
rear drive. It was being designed by the same designer at Pininfarina who was working on the DeLorean. All of the Lancia Scorpions were made in the Pininfarina factory. They were not made in the Lancia factory. It flips to the side.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that.
Again, it's mid-engine, so it's just in front of the rear wheels.
Okay.
This one is an 1800 cubic inch four-cylinder engine. It's got a single carburetor on it.
Okay.
It's the same engine that was used in the Fiat 124 Spider. And that has made it a little bit easier to maintain because it's some of the same components, engine components as the Fiat 124s.
Yeah.
And of course, Lancia was owned by Fiat at the time, still is.
I see.
Lancia has been owned by Fiat since 1965. It's carpeted.
Yeah. That's all factory.
This is all factory original.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My name is Tom Ike.
This is your
1984 Bertone X19, US spec model, original livery.
You were talking a little bit earlier about the history of the wedge car.
My awareness of it started with the Countach, and that was launched when I was crazy for cars. But around the same time, really, in terms of going to production, the X19 came on the market. I didn't realize it was based on a concept that Gandini had done at Bertone 3 years prior called the Autobianchi A1112. It was a runabout with a similar form factor, but headlights were up here and it was a beach car. And then Fiat replaced the 850 Spider with this car, and this car was produced all the way from 1973 to 1989. And Fiat lost their business in North America, or at least the US, in 1982. They exited in somewhat shame and ignominy and gave this to Bertone to market. And they gave the 124 Spider to Pininfarina, who had been the design house for that model. And so Bertone took a lot of pride from what I've read and had to go hand in hand to all kinds of car dealers to get these in distribution. So your Buick dealer, your Mercury dealer sold it and added content, including a signature on the dashboard below the glove box, Nuccio Bertone, because he wasn't allowed to put anything but this label on the X19s when Fiat marketed them. And then Fiat said he could not have any Fiat labels on it by the time he marketed it. And up-contented, air conditioning, lowered the seats to make it better for tall people, which I'm not. And different wheels most every year. You can see a large collection of them here at Concorso, but these are the original wheels as well. Originally 1.3 liter, 1298, and then 1498, so 1.5. And this has Bosch L-Jetronic fuel injection. Which started around 82, I believe. Previous were carbureted, and so this starts every time for me, which is nice. Fuel tank is on the left behind the seat back of the driver. Okay. Spare wheel is behind the passenger, accessible through the passenger compartment.
Spare wheels behind the...
Yeah, I'll show you if you're interested.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a marvel of packaging, this car.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So there you have the frunk. The miracle of this car is then the roof comes off, the targa, and it turns sideways, and it goes in here.
And these are the clips that hold the sideways roof down. So you have to flip down the sun visors, and then you can see this clip emerge.
Yep.
And just let it sort of sit there. So then you just sort of shimmy it forward. And look, it just barely makes it. I mean,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You haven't lost anything.
and I will tell you, though, the jewel of the car is the engine and gearbox. Aurelio Lampredi, the great Italian mechanical engineer. These engines were made by the millions for so many Fiat models, right? This started as the Fiat 128, the innovative front-wheel drive transverse economy car. They just said, let's take the whole thing and move it back.
Yeah.
And I mean, the engine is a gem. It really goes. And it's happiest well above 3,000, really above 4,000, really above 5,000 RPM.
Right.
Hi, my name's Frank DeSimone. I'm from Paso Robles. The car is a 1981 Fiat Spider. It was built in June of 1980. We purchased it in 1994. It was originally a drab metallic olive green. In December of 94, I turned it over to my painter, had him redo the color. We've been showing it at Concorso Italiano since 1996. I had the upholstery done down in Los Angeles 12 or 15 years ago. I was once given an award for this car, and I was asked why it always looked so good, and I said 10 minutes a day. You get off work, you go home, pull in the garage, get out of your car, go to your project car, and just do something for 10 minutes. In a week, you got an hour. In a year, you've got 52 hours. Right. So you can accomplish a lot by doing a very little bit of time and being consistent. I believe these cars were first imported to the United States in about 1968.
Okay. Super clean.
And the reason it's super clean is 10 minutes a day. 2-liter fuel injected. A lot of folks say, it's fix it again, Tony. You have to be concerned about the cars breaking down. But in general, if you pay attention to the car and give it the attention it needs in terms of maintenance, they can be remarkably reliable.
Oh, look at that. The key hole is shared with the 0.
Indeed.
Clean looking trunk too.
It's got the Italian flair and all of that, but it doesn't cost you $5,000 for a tune-up.
Yes.
My name is Don Clem, this is my daughter Caitlin. So this is a 1968 Maserati Sebring Series 2. They made 248 of these cars, all hand-built, designed by Giovanni Michelotti and built by Vignali. So it has an inline straight 6 dual spark Hemi engine that's their competition-derived engine from their racing days. And the name Sebring actually is in commemoration of their 1957 win at Sebring with Sterling Moss and the group.
Okay.
So this was an acquisition that fulfilled a dream of mine to have a handmade Italian car and get back to my Italian heritage.
Wonderful.
In terms of the acquisition, we looked at a number of hand-built cars, both Ferraris and Maseratis and Lamborghinis, And these are very under the radar. They're not well known.
Right.
And so I was able to acquire this and still have the funds to improve upon it.
Yes.
And so this car has never been apart. It's always just been refurbished over the years. It was a COVID buy.
Yes,
it was a
right,
COVID
yeah,
buy,
I know,
you know.
I know.
So the credit cards come flying out of the wallet.
Yes.
But it took about a year to make some improvements on it. It was something that we slowly improved upon over the last year. And this is my first time showing it here at Concorso. So it has 12 spark plugs. 6 cylinders, 12 spark plugs. Higher compression. It's their competition engine.
Yeah, oh, right.
It's their detuned racing engine.
Okay, what's the red line on it?
It's 5,500.
Okay.
Very torquey,
Yeah.
very torquey.
Yeah.
3.7, rear wheel
Solid
drive.
axle?
Solid axle, but it had Girling brakes. So what they did in those days is Maserati had the engine, they had the chassis, but they really didn't have the road components.
Okay.
So they went to England for the road components. So it has Girling brakes, Salisbury rear end, ZF 5-seat transmission, and Smith's gauges, by the way. So it's a lot of Jaguar influence on the car. Sometimes it's called an Aston Martin DB5 with an Italian body. Enormous trunk. A lot of cases of wine can go in that trunk. It's a time capsule, that's for sure.
Yes.
And it's made at a time when automobile was not only engineering, automobile building was art.
Thank you for watching Tiafo Garage, and tomorrow we'll be headed over to Pebble Beach for the Wedge concept cars.
Tiafo Garage.